swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Five Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We are your hosts today, TJ and Alan. What's going on, Alan?
Man, I got to get over being starstruck when I'm on these things with you. And now we have our special guest. Like,
right?
I'm going to be paralyzed.
Special guest. We'll bring him in now. One of our guests today, the very fine Zachary Vogel. What's going on, bud?
Hey.
Hey,
What's up, boys?
An absolute pleasure to have you here on the eve of the Four Nations. We're going to be talking a little fantasy hockey. What have you been up to as far as fantasy hockey? You get into any of that mess this year?
I have really been enjoying the year as a hockey fan.
We always talked about that like romantically, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm taking the year off from fantasy hockey. I still listen to pods and whatnot. But I just watch a lot of games. So, I'm on the computer and I'll have a game in the background. It's nice.
Yeah. I look forward to that one day.
Not having to root against my own players,
Well, it is a pleasure to have you guys on today. The plan is we're going to be talking just some workshop stuff. Guys that have been just out of this world this year, which Zach, just as a guy that consumes more hockey than maybe anybody else, watching these guys, you can only imagine how their ADP must have jumped from this year to last year. I know we shared our the 5-hole ADP. I sent over the Keeping Karlsson ADP. We have Yahoo ADP, everything kind of compiled. So just the performances of some guys this year, whether it's positive or negative, we're going to be talking about a lot of these guys. And one thing I want to introduce to this conversation is like confidence level going into next year. Do we think they're going to be able to do it? Do we think they're going to be able to do it rest of season first? And then what does their ADP look like next year? How much have they jumped? Where do you feel safe? Where do you think they're going to go? I think Zach Hyman was one of those guys this year that jumped up, like Jason Robertson a couple years ago, hopped into the first round, kind of disappointed. That was a couple years ago, but things like that happen where one guy has a fantastic year, comes into the top, 1, 2, 3 rounds, and then winds up falling short because of the outlier. So I guess just, I'll throw to you, Zach, man. What have you been noticing as far as guys that have really stood out? I know we all kind of tried to separate our players and stuff, but there have just been some names that have stuck out like crazy. And I see you've got some here.
So my first one I kind of want to talk about. This is a guy that, generally I saw was definitely drafted quite high in the, in the mock drafts that I was in a lot of mock drafts this year, just not a lot of full year-long leagues. But I love the fact that Jack Hughes is actually finally becoming the player that we've been waiting for him to become. And to me, it's incredibly evident. In 57 games so far this year, he's at 65 points, 24 goals, 41 assists, great shooting percentage. And from what I see, it's how his team just possesses the puck when he's on the ice. They have it. They don't lose the puck when he's out there. It's just for you TJs out there, it's the Corsi. It's the Corsis. They always have the friggin' puck, and I love that. So he's the biggest part of their offense. He's finally become what I've wanted him to become. He was definitely not projected, from a lot of the things I read at the beginning of the year to really have this type of year. So I'm pretty happy with him. And I've always been a big fan of his. So I'm glad it's finally happened.
There was a lot of worry going into this year with Jack Hughes, that shoulder injury. And he's just, I did a fair amount of writing about it. Like, oh, he was even my pick in Dauber for biggest disappointment. And now that we're having this conversation, I can safely hang my hat and say I was wrong, because Jack Hughes is having one hell of one hell of a season. 94-point pace this year, 10 points his last 8. Just nothing wrong with the guy. One thing I was worried about is that the shots and the goals were going to go down. The shots did go down. The goals haven't gone down. And he leads
their team in so many statistics: assists, points, shots on goal, average time on ice. He has more average time on ice than any defenseman. Even strength goals. Like, he leads the entire team in all these different statistics. That's what I look for. Like, that's the guy I wanted him to be. Like, that's why we always said, like, I love the players that are on the Devils, but I friggin' hate the Devils, man.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to root for them.
I hate the fact that I like their players.
Don't look here. Yeah, I got the Brodeur jersey in the background. Man, so
hey,
Jack Hughes.
For Brodeur.
I got that as a Christmas gift. My stepmom got me that one, and she also got me the Yager signed jersey right here. So 2/3 of these jerseys are thanks, Dana. Yeah, it was a fun one.
Is he your favorite goalie from that era?
Yeah, I mean, easy, hands down. I think
Mine easy from that era, hands down, is Dominic Hasek.
Hasek's a good one too. I feel like
would put Marty Brodeur in the back of his own net, as far as I'm concerned.
Brody was just such a hard worker, and being right across the river and everything, you hate playing against him. And the Flyers never really had goalie. They still don't have goalie locked up. Alan and I were talking about this. And the Flyers goalie situation's cursed.
Left.
No,
they haven't since he left. That's true.
We thought we were there with Carter Hart, but he turned out to be a diddler. Okay, Jack Hughes.
Hey, Frank.
I hate to laugh about that. Jack Hughes, 13-ish ADP in 5-hole leagues. Seems like a pretty safe first rounder, second rounder next year. It's been like a lot of these guys that I'm looking at in our second rounds, can go one of two ways. Like Mitch Marner should be a first rounder. Jack Hughes could be a first rounder. Connor Hellebuck could be a first rounder at this point, but I just don't see anybody that's moving out of the first round. Maybe JT Miller, but he's looked pretty good in New York. So I don't know. Do you think Jack Hughes is kind of on that 1-2 turn next year too?
Oh, if you can get him in the second round, I'd take him in the second round. I really would.
Oh yeah. You don't mind that at all. Alan, what's your take on Jack Hughes and what?
Like you said, I also was worried about injury history, but again, I think it was even you that said it. Like, you can't draft based on this guy is going to miss these games. McKinnon, Rantanen, like those guys seem to always miss about 10 games.
Zach Werenski is teaching us that lesson pretty hard this year.
Yeah, definitely another guy.
Talk about an injury history.
Yeah, knock on wood, obviously.
For that poor kid.
But yeah, you're right, Al. It's like it's one of those things where if you do, and it's not even like he's missed a bunch of time, but like it can't be that much more than Cale Makar. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov is a first rounder this year, and I highly doubt the fact that he's missed games this year is going to pull him out of the first round next year. So what do you really do? What do you do? Jack Hughes has had a fundamental perfect year. How much is Keefe, do you think? Like, I was wondering how that system was going to change because Keefe, I keep coming back to this similarity profile for me. Like Jack Hughes is Austin Matthews. Jesper Bratt is William Nylander. John Tavares, that is Nico Hischier. Like, he had a lot of the same kind of, like, the players aren't the same, but they rhyme, if that makes any sense. Like, he had pretty much the same roster buildup.
So are the Devils the DC to Toronto's Marvel? I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So there was just like or like Bizarro Toronto or something. Then. So I don't know. Like I just saw a lot of similarities and how he could deploy pretty much the same thing he was doing in Toronto, and obviously that's going to bode well for Jack Hughes, who would be the Austin Matthews in that situation, who has the same shot volume.
Who's Stefan Nason?
That is, I mean, that's easily, I don't know, Eric Haula or are you talking about Stefan Nason?
Yeah, who would be the Toronto equivalent of Stefan Nason?
Like the banger, I guess?
Because I feel like Keefe has that guy that really isn't like an elite scoring guy, but he'll throw him up in the top six.
Maybe Domi? Like, he tried so hard to put Domi on those top six. feel like there's been guys that just kind of like
Oh.
come and go. Like Yarncroak was there.
Bunting.
Bunting was there. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. And now it's like Matthew Nyes or something, just without the bangs. But yeah. And he's finally got himself a number 1D with options too, and goalies. So I love what he's doing in New Jersey. Alan, why don't you take us through your first? Let's do positive.
Ooh.
Let's stick with positive, right? Like,
Yeah.
who do you like for your first? Like,
Good vibes.
Yeah,
Some good vibes around here.
yeah, and then we'll bring it down in the second half, right?
Lucas Raymond, like
Yeah, that's
Yahoo
a-
ADP
yeah.
96.5. In cacuffle scoring, he's 31st. Like pacing 88 points. His shooting percentage, a little bit higher, but still down from last year's. So like he's still good, and they're giving him more time on ice this season. Like, and I think he's right around that 300 game threshold. Like this could be just kind of who he is.
293 right now.
Yeah,
26
so probably
of his 59 points are power play points. He's
Oof.
already walloped his career high in power play points. That's what Detroit's, like, a lot of their inflated values have been a result of the power play. But is that going to stick around? Like, do you think this is a team that has that sort of like consistency? Can they hold that down?
Oof. I mean, maybe for the rest of the season, but who knows? Once they get a full year of McClellan. Yeah.
I mean, 72-point pace last year, 88-point pace this year. It's not like too crazy a jump. He could definitely see those points, like, kind of defer them to other places, I think, and still have.
And especially whatever Detroit does in the offseason too, to kind of get them some support players.
I wonder what their the
eyes are playing.
Yeah, the eyes are playing. All right, so Nate, all the way from Australia, has a question about Nico Hischier. I think I skipped this one before we moved off the New Jersey Devils. What do you guys think? Hischier, another injury risk guy, something we were talking about with Hughes, with Werenski, with Letang, if we're talking legacy injury guys. What do you think? Hischier, he's been pretty good for a few years now, like surprising just consistently.
I mean, depending on how deep your league is, like if he's a guy that, I don't know, maybe in a 10 team, he was out in free agency and you got him, great. But I don't know if I'd go out and trade the farm for him.
And this is even, I mean, technically a down year for him. 81 points or 81-point pace 2 years ago, 77, now 69.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's still a guy that like just consistently has all sorts of value from this team, and power play points already has 18 on the year, career high is 19. So just given value in different ways. Zach, what's your take here on Nico Hischier?
It's the fact that isn't he still a strict C?
Yeah,
that's where the problem lies. That's where the problem lies for me. Until he's not a strict C anymore, and they start playing him on the wing or something like that. That's my problem. There's so many other strict C's or players that are dual eligible that you're not gonna have a someone like Hischier on your team that could possibly weigh you down. And I hate to say it because I like Nico Hischier, but still.
Zach, you do a lot of fantasy football, I know. So are you familiar with like the 0 RB strategy? Like if you don't get one of the top guys, then you just fade it.
That's a horrible idea. Running back that just like zero G. It's a horrible idea. You need at least one bell cow.
Well, I think center applies to that a little bit too, because the top guys, you think the 3 M's like McCarr, McKinnon, and Matthews, right? If you don't get one of those guys, you can kind of fade it. But we've seen, the Jack Hughes in the second round, right? There is a ton of depth, but guys like Scheifele, who's going to be showing up on my list later as a guy who just incredibly surpassed his own value. You fade C, you wind up with a guy like Hischier. And that's how I feel like these guys provide value. Yes, you're not like building your roster around a Hischier, but if you did wind up fading center, then Hischier's definitely got a place on your roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it feels a little closer to 0 RB.
Somebody I'm drafting. I'm not interested in drafting him in the first, couple of rounds.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
All right, Alan.
Round 10.
I want to circle back to your guy here, Lucas Raymond, and just
Yeah.
throw out some finishing thoughts on what you got on him.
Yeah, no, like I said, everything is falling. It seems to be falling into place for him. He seems to be becoming the player on paper they drafted him to be. But I don't know, 31st. Like, would I draft him at 31st though? I don't know. I feel like that's one. If someone wants to fall on that sword, go for it. But maybe I don't know, 5th, 6th round, sure.
Yeah, his ADP last year, Kakupful had him in the 88s, the late 80s for us in the 5-hole leagues. He went a little bit later, 107, but we have different scorings. Right around like Drake Batherson, do you kind of see him in the same-ish range, like round 8, round 7, maybe a little higher? He's got a bit of a push this year. And where would you feel safe drafting him?
Actually, I think 7th, 8th. Like if he was still there, that's a perfect, like, I don't know, high floor, high risk, high reward play.
I dig it. I'm gonna go to my guy Mark Scheifele, who me and Brave Traveler were during every single mock draft this offseason. Whenever we were in them together, one of us would take Mark Scheifele in the 10th round, and that just seemed like the calling card pick. Mark Scheifele in the 10th. He wound up, I think, going in tier 2 of the 5-hole leagues. I think he went a lot earlier because, Brave Traveler and I are both in that league, and we had to make sure one of us got him. I can't remember if either of us got. I know I don't have Scheifele, but somebody else swung a little earlier on him, and it worked out. Pretty well. He's got a 92-point pace this year, which is something that he's done. 2021, he played 56 games, a COVID-shortened season. He was right around the same points per game. Zach, going back to our old days, like legacy 5-hole, man, Scheifele is the most consistent guy. Like it's plus or minus 5 points away from 85 points.
He's the most consistent guy, except for this year where he's having his best shooting year ever.
Oh yeah, but consistently high shooter. But yeah, this seems even a little out of range for him, 25%. But look at it, like 2016, 17, 85-point pace, then 82, then 84, 84, 92, 86, 69, weird year, 80 points, 92-point pace. So he's like so consistently in that range, except for that one outlier where things just didn't go his way. I don't know. Like, I feel like the question kind of, it'll go to Kyle Connor, it'll go to Nikolai Ehlers, it'll go to Josh Morrissey, Connor Hellebuck. Do we feel like the Jets are going to be this good next year? And I don't see a lot changing for them year to year, but you got to figure Hellebuck, goalie's being weird. Does he have such a good year? Does the team score as much? I don't know. Do you guys think Winnipeg is going to be just as much of a powerhouse to support these high offensive floors, or do you think because I don't think it's up to any one guy.
I could see them being the Calgary Flames from a few years ago.
Oh, I remember that.
Where they just completely overachieved, and the next season
that's harsh.
Came back to earth. I mean, maybe not that bad, but there's
about Connor Hellebuck like he's just some schmuck they picked up.
He's
off
not.
the street.
But how many seasons can he play 60 plus starts and still be Vezina caliber?
So
Scheifele, he's been Vezina caliber for a long time.
Yes, he's been really good, but you do have a point. We are moving away from like the workhorse, but it just seems like Hellebuck is that guy. Like they do not go out and get like a 1B. I don't think they've had a 1B since he's been there. It's always been like Brossoit or Comrie or just some schmuck who's going to play 15 games. I don't think it's up to any one guy, depending on how because I kind of carry the sustainability of Scheifele, of Ehlers, of Morrissey. Like everybody falls on everybody else. I don't see any one person being like, oh yeah, that shooting percentage is going to come down on a personal level. This feels like more macro stuff where, the team just feels it. And that rarely carries over from year to year. Going back to your Calgary thing, it's, I don't think we see like a 110-point Johnny Gaudreau and then, a 70-point Johnny Gaudreau out of any of these guys in Winnipeg. But, there might be a little bit of coming back down to earth. And that kind of pulls me into the ADP talk. Like, number one, I think Scheifele and the Jets are going to carry this into the postseason. So anybody that's holding on to these guys, you know, they haven't even been close to considering trading them. But Scheifele, 101 in 5-hole leagues, 99, actually 99.98. So let's call it an even 100 in Cupful. Yahoo's not far off. So right around 100. I feel like he's going to get a little bit of a bump, but that's not going to be because he's been good. But I'm looking at these guys ahead of him: Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Rupe Hintz, Uri Slafkovsky, Alexander Georgiev. Like, people are just going to fall below him, I think. I guess other guys might hop up there too. Martin Nietzsche and Drake Batherson, Lucas Raymond even. But where do you guys think Scheifele's going to wind up next year? Like, how much has he done for his stock going into 25?
Absolutely. I feel like he'll get overdrafted. Probably what, 5th, 6th round?
That, I mean, it feels about right.
Maybe
it feels like
probably around the place he takes someone like Sebastian Aho.
Okay.
Oh wow.
I'm
okay.
looking at like
I'd
John
rather have Aho.
Tavares at 79. That feels like a Wyatt Johnston from last year jumped way up. The hype on him was crazy, and I feel like he could wind up in like where Joel Eriksson Ek was this year in the 70s, maybe somewhere around there. Like a Travis Konechny in that neighborhood, Timo Meyer. He seems to fit in with like that crowd for me. But you got him like the Mika Zibanejads, the Svechnikovs, kind of in that neighborhood.
It's like what? That's like what? Late 4th, 5th.
Yeah, in like the 50s there.
50s, 60s, yeah.
What about you, Zach? Any how much do you think he inflated his value?
I think that it happens every year. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I was just talking about Wyatt Johnston.
Every year, dude. You go from, so next year he'll get overdrafted, like you're talking about, and then the year after that he'll get underdrafted.
Yep.
Everything is cyclical. Everything is cyclical. It's gonna happen. So yeah, is he probably gonna get overdrafted? But yes, if he's getting drafted in the 4th or 5th round. But I think the 6th or the 7th round, like where you're talking about in the 70s or so, I think that's incredibly viable and a decent place to take him. I wouldn't call that overdrafting at all.
Yeah, in terms of like comfort level, I think that's where I'd be taking him. If he winds up in that range that you're talking about, Alan, I think I'm going to have to pass.
Oh no, that's where I'd pass on him.
Yeah.
But 8th round,
Mhm.
yeah. I usually punt pure centers more than that, but I could see people grabbing there.
And when we're talking about pure centers again, you tell me on one hand, blue pill Mark Scheifele and red pill Nico Hischier. Come on now. For me, it's
blue pill.
Obvious, and it's Scheifele.
Yeah, blue pill. I like how the pills also aligned with the jerseys. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
I know.
Well done.
Well, it made sense in my head. So
why don't you take me to your next guy here, Zach?
So my next guy is a guy that at least started out as a hometown boy here for Raleigh, and that's Marty Nietzsche. I mean, over 100 on the ADP. Came out. He, obviously bet on himself. The Canes did not want to trade him. As we all remember, he asked for a trade. They ended up talking him into staying. My guess is they had a real conversation with him and said, hey, go ball out and we'll get you moved if that's really what you want. And he did just that. And now he's on a fantastic line playing with the Avalanche next to Nathan McKinnon, who's a top 3 player. Like we saw Rantanen, obviously him for Rantanen pretty much. Ranty's doing fine down here. Definitely not the same as Nietzsche's. But we saw Rantanen have multiple years where he was over 100 point scoring, over a point per game. I don't think it's anywhere like, crazy to think that kind of outcome is available out there for Nietzsche's too. Rantanen has 1 goal and 1 assist through 6 games.
Yeah, that's
and
brutal.
Nietzsche's has 4 goals and 5 assists in 8 games.
How did Colorado win that trade? Is this like a Huberdeau and Uyghur all over again? Like on paper, we're like, oh, Calgary fleeced them, and then we're looking at it, and it's like, oh shit, maybe Colorado knew what they were doing.
Well,
And I mean,
I think that Colorado definitely wanted to get younger there. You know,
Cost
Ranson
controlled too,
had,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, the Canes feel like they want to win this year, and they feel like Mikko Rantanen is the player to help them do that this year, as opposed to Nietzsche's, who is more of a guy. If you know you think your window is longer, I don't think the Canes window is 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I could see that. Not when you have like Brent Burns and well, I guess that's the only guy really aging out, but they do churn their roster quite a bit.
Oh, one more other thing I had to say about Nietzsche's. As soon as he got to Colorado, time on ice, boom, boom,
Yeah.
skyrocketed.
What, 5 minutes?
Skyrocketed 5 friggin' minutes. 5 minutes. That's crazy. That's a crazy amount jump. 5 minutes time on ice going from one team to another. So
That's
of
huge.
course I think that he's easily going to be a point per game player next year. He is never going to get drafted 111 again.
I think that range where Scheifele might end up, I'd actually feel confident taking somebody like a Martin Nietzsche's.
Absolutely. I feel like he may go sooner.
Yeah, so I mean, right back to what you were saying there, Zach, like he'll never get drafted where he was again. And I guess on the flip side, like, you know, Rantanen's still got a lot of runway left to kind of prove what he can do in Carolina. But, you know, I was optimistic. I looked at what Jake Gensel was able to do in Carolina for a short amount of time. I looked at even Nito Niederreiter, right? Like these guys came into Carolina and they lit the world on fire for 20, 30 games. I just haven't seen it from Rantanen yet. And for a guy that, yes, is playing for a contract, so you want to lean on that contract year kind of argument. I guess this is a conversation for the offseason, but like, you know, if he goes half point per game in Carolina and winds up, you know, XYZ wherever, I guarantee the hype is going to wash out any, you know, memory of his poor performance in Carolina. But what do you think happens to Rantanen's draft stock next year? And we've only seen a handful of games, but we're already talking about Nietzsche's. Like, yes, he solidified himself, but he, you know, he did it in Carolina and he's doing it in Colorado as well. But the opposite for Rantanen. So I don't know. It just feels like two different conversations.
Right. And I know Carolina's also had like dysentery or whatever's going around the league burn through that locker room. And I don't know if it was illness related, but I know Aho's missed some time. Yeah. Like, I just think besides the Brindamore blender, like he just hasn't had consistent line mates there.
What about you?
Which
Zach?
could play into it.
Do you think Rantanen winds up being a value next year just based on, you know, if he continues, huge if, you know, does he wind up cheaper?
How much cheaper? We thinking mid second round, maybe?
I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up like we've seen a lot of volatility in Andrei Svechnikov's draft stock over the years, and there's so much hype around him, and I feel like if Rantanen pushes back to maybe the second or the third round, I feel like no matter what happens, no matter where he winds up, you're going to wind up getting either at cost or value, I think. But you know, there's still 20 games left for him to, you know, 15, 20 games left for him to figure it out, and a whole playoffs too. Like, you know, how many players have an amazing playoffs and then just do wonders for their draft stock?
Wyatt Johnson.
No wonder. Is this your daughter?
Yeah.
Hi, Iris. Oh, you said it too. That's cute. My she's down here playing with the cats, I think. Are you down here, Mags? Maybe she went upstairs. All right. That's going to bring us to your next guy here, Alan. Who do you like?
Oh, yeah. Sam Reinhart. Not a huge jump, but I think we could be looking at Robo. Was that year where he went like end of the first, and then just kind of fell off a little bit. He's still shooting that
JT Miller spot, you know.
Oh, yeah, I know he's still shooting high though, 20.8% and regressed some from 24.5 last year. But I mean, his shot rate's still the same. that point pace just didn't fall off as much as I kind of thought it would. He's pacing for 89 versus 94 last season. And kind of just none of his advanced stats this season are taking a huge step off from his past few seasons. Like he's currently 7th in Cacuffle. Like he could absolutely be one of those guys that gets taken on the turn next season, which I don't know if I'd feel comfortable taking him there, but I could see people making a case for it.
And this is the second year in a row that he's wound up with that kind of value. It was him, it was Reinhardt, and it was Hyman, who both jumped into like the top 3 rounds. And I was a little uneasy about both, but more uneasy about Hyman, having taken Reinhardt myself in a couple spots. But you said he was ranked 7th in
Cacuffle.
In Cacuffle, he's 11th in whatever dummy league. I think this is set to the 5 league, but I have like a dummy league for Yahoo just so I can like mess around and screw with scoring and stuff. But yeah, he's man. So talking about him moving into the first round means somebody needs to fall out, and I feel like JT Miller is that guy,
right?
And
or maybe Rantanen.
It could be Rantanen too. You know, McDavid's not going anywhere. McKinnon's not going anywhere. Matthews, Kucherov, Draisaitl, Pasternak. He'll fall down, but I think he'll stay in the first. Makar's staying there. Kachuk might fall out. That's Matty. Brady, you know, he had that 10-game pointless streak. We'll see. But yeah, I do think he could wind up on that turn. And you know, everybody's looking at you know, Buffalo versus Florida career stats, that kind of thing. His role changed so much in Florida, being a net front guy, being a huge power play converter. Like his shooting percentage, where it's been these last few years, that's his new normal. So I like Reinhardt. He's on the top power play for Canada.
Percentage.
That too.
Just under 20%.
But it just his time in Florida, like he's exploded. He's in nothing but high danger areas. Top power play for Canada. I can't wait for that game tomorrow. Him and like he's got to be net front, but it's Crosby, it's McKinnon, McDavid, and Makar on the top power play.
That sounds right.
That's insane. That's not fair. All right, let's where do we go? We went Reinhardt. Yep. Yeah, what else you got on him? Zach, did you have anything to add on Reinhardt? Our favorite sloth.
He is a fan favorite, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, so even back from his Buffalo days, it's just been like always a surprise. Like you're always surprised that Sam Reinhart does good, and I don't know why we're all so stupid and we're all always surprised. You know?
Well, 57 goals came out of nowhere, but
right. Well, wasn't that was the contract year, right? We all kind of expected a pop off.
And boy did he ever. So he's got 31 goals in 57 games right now. Let me do the napkin math on that, but I'm sure he's on pace for close to the same. So 31 divided by 57 times 82.
Pacing 80
like
for
45 points. Or 45 goals.
47.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's up there, man. All right, that'll take
still 40 freaking goals is fantastic.
So the next I have 2 that I'm like debating between. One feels a lot more up in the air recently, and that's Vinny Trocheck. And the other one is just, I think, Alan, we were talking before we went on air, Brandon Hagel, just one of the best even strength players. What did I say? The opposite of a power play merchant. He's 4th in the league in even strength points with 39 behind Draisaitl, 4 points behind Draisaitl, tied with Nathan McKinnon. And the surprising part of this all is like 39 points out of his how many points does he have all? Like I'm set to 5-on-5 here with natural stat trick. 39 out of 62. So over half of his points are done at even strength. Over a point per game. Sees some top power play time, but he's not doing like a ton there. You know, Tampa Bay fan Alan, why don't you take me through a little bit of
like I was telling you, like if you watch like him and Cirelli every shift, they're just balls to the wall, like workhorses. Some of that, I mean, sometimes if they need to mix things up, they will put Cooch on the line with Sorelli and Hagel. But I feel like that really just doesn't have much to do with it. But yeah, he gets a lot of nice breakaways. Just really easy looking stuff. And remember, this is a guy that we gave up 2 firsts for to get from Chicago. I feel like this is kind of maybe what we saw him turning into. Yeah.
I remember Tampa got flamed for that one. 6 shorthanded points too, and 8 power play points. So almost as many points shorthanded as he has on the power play. He's doing incredible things at even strength. And what I love to see is exactly that. I want to look at his primary point percentage too, because he has been a offensive creator. Only 13 secondary assists out of 62 total points. So over like 3/4 of his points are primary points. And I love to see an offensive driver like that. If he does wind up like Mitchell Chaffee, I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing down there, Alan.
I don't know.
Brandon
What
Hagel's
we really
your guy.
need is someone to take that left dot on the power play.
Hagel. It's got to be Hagel. I don't know. Is he a left-handed shot? I don't know. Like, is that what you need? I guess.
Yeah, because we just miss having Stamkos on that other side as a viable as a threat.
So Hagel feels a lot like Martin Nietzsche's, where his ADP of last year of like 95 is just, you're not going to do it. It's not going to happen again.
No, that's where I think a lot of people, he'll probably go where a lot of people value Svetch, like what, 50s?
I mean, that's hefty. But yeah,
90,
I mean, it
92
tracks,
point
right?
pace. Yeah.
92 point pace. I would have him, like, I'd have him above Konechny, but probably in that range, like a Verhaeghe. I don't know. I'm looking at like Fiala. Like, he feels like a Fiala kind of neighborhood. Does that land with you, or is that still, am I still selling him too short? I'm thinking about next year. Like, where am I comfortably going to take him?
Man, I could
Trocheck, Barzal, Fiala, Timo Meyer, Carter Verhaeghe were all kind of taken in the same range. Travis Konechny,
probably in that range, but I feel like some of those guys are going to drop off draft stock wise.
Yeah. But I'm trying to like put myself in the frame of mind of like where I built and valued those guys coming into drafts this year, and if I could see myself valuing Hagel the same way, especially if preseason he's practicing on the top power play, like that's a 100-point season to me. It'd be hard to
I mean, hopefully between this season and next, they get someone who can take that left dot, which would take Hagel's value.
They have someone, and I need John.
They tried it and it didn't work.
Oh man, is Hagel? He's playing for Team USA, right? I'm pretty sure he's up there.
I think I'm confusing like Point and Sorelli on Team Canada. I forget.
I feel like Hagel's on Team USA. Hopefully he gets some power play time. Yeah, Brandon Hagel's. I think Sorelli's playing for USA too.
No, I thought Sorelli was Canada.
Oh yeah, I misread the thing. Oh, Hagel's playing for Canada too. How about it?
Okay.
Yeah, and Jake Gensel, Team USA. Right on. So Vinny Tro, I feel like this one's cut and dried in terms of what happens with JT Miller and the power play. JT Miller was the Vancouver Canucks leading face-off man on the power play. So was Vinny Trocheck for the New York Rangers. So there's a redundancy there where they have JT Miller up on the top power play instead of Vinny Trocheck because of the face-offs. They don't need a guy to do it up there anymore. Like, Trocheck was far and above anybody taking face-offs on the team. Like, even Zibanejad was like single digits on the power play, and Trocheck was triple digits. It was insane. And now they have JT Miller, who's pretty good at that himself. And now I'm looking at their lines, like
why put Trocheck in net front, like we talked about. That's where he ate on Florida.
But now they have Chris Kreider back up there, and that's his spot. So like, there's redundancies pretty much everywhere you can go.
They don't need Chris Kreider.
But who's going to take faceoffs on power play 2 without Philip Hedl?
Oh,
so it's just like this catch-22 where nothing good happens to Vincent Trocheck. His even strength partners are Will Cooley and Alexis Lafreniere. No amount of breaking out is going to replace Artemi Panarin from Alexis Lafreniere and JBVC on the top line. What the fuck are you doing, man? Zibanejad 3C, I guess his little, time in the sun is over, but it was good to see a pulse out of Zibanejad. But Vinny Tro, I want to see what happens with the lines. If he can get some support, at even strength and potentially on the power play again, that would be huge. Hopefully they pick up somebody who can take faceoffs at the trade deadline or something. I don't know. Just throw a fucking. They did Winberg last year, so we'll see. Zach, what's your take on Vinny?
Then I'm tired of hearing you talk about Vinny Trocheck. It's been an overwhelming
to a
part
decade.
of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm
sorry.
a big fan.
I was dealing with a family thing, so I was talking to my sister. Sorry about that.
Hope everything's all right.
No, we're fine.
I'm getting alerts that it's snowing. It's been snowing for like 4 hours, but at least I'm getting alerts about it, right? All right.
Hey,
who's up next? That's you, Zach, right? You got, oh man, right now? Oh no, I remember. That weird one that was like took out the
where the entire
Allen
South
got smacked
snow.
too.
It's craziness.
So let's wrap up. I got one name left. It's Zach Werenski. It's what hasn't been said about Zach Werenski already. So like whether it's our podcast, I know we talked about him a lot with Daily Faceoff and Brock Segan there. DFO's covered him a bunch. I know Apple's Geno's covered him a bunch. The only thing that's stopping Werenski is injury, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen this year. Knock on wood. Let's hope. But this is the guy. This guy has always been if he's healthy, and this year he's healthy. So I feel like there's not really much more to dig into on Zach Werenski. He's good. It's what do we say? It's not sustainability; it's availability, and he's got both this year. Who you got left, Zach?
Do we want to move on to the negatives?
To the negatives, yeah.
I mean, I got one more positive guy that we could brush through real quick.
How about it?
I just wanted to kind of say something quick about Seth Jarvis. I mean, I know it's another Canes guy, but for where he was drafted, he's just under a point per game, 45 points in 49 games, 17% shooting percentage. And really what it comes down to is the trust that Brindy obviously has in him. So they gave him, they extended him, number one, but it's the fact that they put him in every single situation. He plays even strength. He plays on the power play. He plays shorthanded. So Brindamore literally puts him in every possible situation out there on the ice that there is. So when it comes down to crunch time, Seth Jarvis is going to be one of those guys with his stick on the puck. So I like that, and those are the kind of things that I'm always looking for. You know what I mean? Just those little things. And that means something, at least for a Brindamore offense. You have to be trusted, or he ain't going to put you out there.
And you got an honorable mention here, Lane Hudson, one of the Calder favorites. I think, it goes without saying. He's like, 2-3% short of what Cale Makar was able to put together in his rookie year. So watching what he's going to be able to do, and being that good without a McKinnon, without a Rantanen, and things like that Cale Makar had at his disposal in his rookie year is fantastic. So I can't wait to see what he does next year. Where he's drafted is going to be very interesting. A couple of honorable mentions on your side too, Alan, before we move on to the
not a huge jump up. And I know someone in the chat asked about like if Jack Eichel is worth a third round keeper. I would say hell yeah. Like a guy who I know he didn't go there, but absolutely could present top 10 value for a third round pick. Hell yeah. But no, that's where, I forget what his ADP was. I want to say like high 20s or
36.
low 20s. 36. There we go. Like for a guy giving you probably like top 10 value. I don't know where he still is in like standings for like points total, but he's been for most of the season, he was in the top 10.
Yeah, I like that. He's, it's not a huge jump in terms of his ADP because he was already so high, but I do think he warrants.
And I feel like when he was on Buffalo, that was I think he was a top 10 pick.
He was the exception to the rule of someone has to score. Like he was the only one who ever did it.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
Then my other honorable mention, Velarde. I know he had a rough start, but I
Yep.
feel like he absolutely stands a chance to get an ADP bump, maybe overvalued, depending on how much we think Winnipeg regresses next season.
He might be. He's kind of like low man on the totem pole in terms of like their offensive weapons. So he would be first to feel it, I think. All right, I'll lead off the negative guys here, and I'm just looking at a lot of these. Like just looking at the ADP from Yahoo right now, Austin Matthews took a pretty huge dip. Rantanen's on his way down. Matty Tkachuk's on his way down. JT Miller's on his way down. A lot of guys like just losing value. And what I've noticed, especially defense, is maybe the craziest position this year. Quinn Hughes, as good as he's been, ADP of 17, he's ranked 33rd. Roman Josi, I don't need to go into detail about the shitty year that Nashville's having, and Roman Josi, kind of everything bottlenecks through him, and he's the guy that I want to highlight. And I feel like defensemen in general have been such a weird one this year. Alan, I know you've got one of your own, and Noah Dobson is another one, injured right now, but the Islanders as a whole, if they keep the same GM, if they keep the same coach, Noah Dobson needs to take a pretty hefty dive in ADP. Like what he was able to put together last year that gave him the ADP that he had. He didn't do it this year. And the Islanders don't look like a team that can support power play points or even assists at this point with the system that they have in place at this point. And there's even times where Mike Riley's taken over on the top power play, fucking Dennis Cholowski over Noah Dobson. I don't like that sort of insecurity at QB1. So Noah Dobson has to be moved down the list pretty handily. And Roman Josi, I feel like I want to know what you guys feel on this one. I feel like Josi is worth another shot next year if Nashville, like it was just such a weird year. They added so much talent, and maybe it was just like whiplash, right? Like they weren't able to catch up to the amount of talent that they added. And I wonder if they're able to fix it over the offseason, and then Josi, dips down ADP and winds up being an incredible value. I think that's what's going to wind up happening more than likely. But I could see guys like Quinn Hughes hopping Josi. I still think Josi should be in the top 10, but he was in the top 3 this year, and I don't think he gave us the performance of a top 3 defenseman. So I think he'll wind up going down. I'm gonna skip your defenseman, but I feel like Adam Fox, we talked about Noah Dobson, Charlie McAvoy, Morgan Riley. How many of these guys kind of just fell flat at defense? And then on the other side, like Zach Werenski, incredible value. Mackenzie Weegar, incredible value. I don't see a ton of like valuable guys here. Shea Theodore is doing pretty good in terms of return on investment, but outside of that, defensemen have just been a hard place to make money on. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So
is that my cue?
I've actually liked Sergachev this year, even though he's on crap ass Utah.
Yeah, I a lot of people like ADP of right around the 80s, 86 in Yahoo, and currently ranked 107.
I think he's worth it, is what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's going to be your number one. And I know that was out of the blue and not what we were talking about at all.
Well, no, his
defenseman, yeah,
top defenseman. One of those value ones too that kind of like sneak up on you. He missed a ton of time and is still ranked 107. His ADP was 86. So if he gave us a full season, healthy season, I'd imagine that he'd be returning value on his ADP.
He scored a decent amount of points this year for the games that he did play too.
Let's check it out. I'm gonna get into that. Alan, why don't you take us through?
So both my negatives. These are guys I drafted. I was excited to draft, but they're both the fucking pheasants. My defenseman is Miro Heiskanen.
Yeah,
ADP of 61.1. He's currently 209 in Cacuffle scoring. I'm starting to wonder if he is actually like just a half a point per game defenseman. Nothing special. That 41 point pace is right more in line with what he's done in other seasons. I know that he was behind Klingberg, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, even now his IPP and power play IPP are trending down. Like this year, 75 of his 75% of his assists are secondary assists. I've been sounding the horn that he's not maybe as fantasy relevant as he is like just a really good real life defenseman. But yeah, absolutely do not draft for me like for all eternity.
Heiskanen, I want to start this off with the Dallas Stars. I feel like the Dallas Stars do what the New York Islanders want to do, but they do it correctly. You know what I mean? They have the offensive players. They're a defensive team. They roll lines. Nobody gets any more points or time or whatever. Like I remember, I did a little study on like how much they are rolling lines, and I think there was a 2-minute gap between even strength top line and bottom line. His big year is what I want to highlight. 34 power play points in his 76-point pace year. This year he's got 7. We're more than halfway done the season. For him to hit 34, he would need to go Super Saiyan, and I don't see it happening. So a lot of it's going to be power play points, and he just doesn't have it this year. And Dallas, I don't know if they're a team to really go for that. I don't know. Like without Pavelski, you don't have those tip-ins. I feel like Kreider would be a fantastic fit there. But
and that's all I'm wondering, if maybe just that it's another team where the power play doesn't run through the defenseman.
Yeah. So, if he can get back to that power play points, then he turns into like one of the most valuable draft picks of the year. But I don't know, Zach, I know you got a lot to say about Dallas. I want to give you a minute of time here. I know you love Dallas.
I love Jake Ottinger.
Yeah.
I love Jake Ottinger and always have. And it's for a reason, because he's really fucking good.
Poopy hints.
It's you that likes poopy hints, dude. You like poopy hints. I've never been a big poopy hints fan, but that's just me. Don't get me wrong. He's okay. But I literally don't think I've ever had him on my team once.
Hints?
Like ever.
Not even in your IR?
I don't think I ever have. I know he's your guy. No, I agree with you on the Miro thing, for sure. But don't talk bad about Jake Ottinger. That's just not going to happen.
No, never. I can't talk.
I will not stand for it.
Let's see. Who's my next negative? This
I
one
have one negative guy. So.
I talked about Noah Dobson already, but Chris Kreider is another one I want to talk about. I don't know if it was just hangover from his 50-goal year, but his ADP was a little bit out of hand this year. I remember talking about it, going into the preseason, that I didn't like him where he was getting drafted. And it really, like the whole New York Rangers fell in a big way. And it was uncomfortable to watch, but where Chris Kreider was drafted was not at all warranted. And what's he got? He's got like 13 goals and 2 assists. Like finally getting on the board with assists, but it's just such a weird year for him. So Chris Kreider, 40.3 ADP, getting ahead of Kyle Connor, ahead of Sebastian Aho, Adrian Kempe, Tage Thompson, Barkov. Like just such a weird spot for him to be. And I feel like if you wound up drafting him, like you regretted it every step along the way. But the same things that I was saying for Trocheck can be said for Chris Kreider on the flip side now, because Kreider's back on the top power play and there's a chance to correct it. JT Miller seems to have, rejuvenated this team to another degree, because at the turn of the year, they really turned it on. But Chris Kreider is firmly on my do not draft. And I don't think I'm going to like him wherever he was drafted. 63.6 in Cupful, and probably not far behind in the 5-hole leagues, but yeah, 54.
You don't see him being worth it next year, considering
no.
It's going to plummet for his draft stock.
If he's at like 100, I could get into it, but
it's like a stock. You want to buy the stock when it's low. You
think it's going to go up,
buy
though.
The stock when he was getting drafted in the 3rd round or anything crazy, but
there's a difference between buying low stock and buying low stock that you think is going to go up. I just don't think Chris Kreider's value goes up.
I mean, what about his injury? I mean, he's clearly stated he's playing through something. I mean, how much of a role do we think that's had on his play this year?
Yeah.
You don't think he's going to go up from 16 goals? He's got to go up.
Probably.
It's only one way to go.
It really depends on what his cost is going to be next year. If he's like in the 100s, I could see it. That's where like Brock Nelson was going, and I feel like if it's a choice between Brock Nelson, Bo Horvat or Chris Kreider, there's going to be an argument for every single one of those guys. And if I wind up with Kreider, then I'll be rooting for him.
Coming up on 34.
That too.
I don't know. This may be where it falls off.
He's a power forward. They fall off quick. Yeah, that's all I got for my negatives. Who we got left here? Oh boy, this is a big one, Alan. Actually, you know what, Zach, you only got one. Do you want to?
There we go.
You want to throw your guy?
Yeah, I had this down already, and I love from the chat. I am all about hashtag justice for Timo.
Oh,
because I want Timo Meyer to go back to San Jose.
Why does Sheldon Keefe hate him? Like if he was a Toronto Maple Leaf, like the comparable, what's the comparable?
It went downhill when he came to friggin' Jersey, man. He was awesome. Yeah. Like his shooting percentage down to 9.4 this year. It's been a steady decrease every season for time on ice since coming to New Jersey. And I remember when Timo Meyer, you remember the good old days when Timo Meyer was a Cats monster? When he did everything. He's still doing
the other things, just no points.
Yeah, no, just a ton of shots, a ton of hits, points, assists, everything. His stat sheet was filled. I want him to go back to San Jose. So yeah, that's my negative guy. He got drafted,
what,
high
50s
again this year.
Yeah. Timo is just him and Svechnikov. There's just an undying love and hope for both these guys.
Oh, I won't draft Svechnikov.
Timo Meyer, 34th draft pick in Kickoff, and I think 5-hole is pretty high on Meyer. Like our guys. Oh, there's a guy named John Meyer. We actually took 63. How about that? We don't favor peripherals too much, but yeah, him and like Verhaeghe, he's in that range with Trocheck, Barzal, a lot lower than Kickoff. I didn't see that coming, but damn, where did he go?
So I want Timo Meyer back. The Timo Meyer I know and love.
He did. It took what, a Heischer injury, and I think Palat got power play 1 over Timo first, but Timo got some power play time, top power play time under Keefe. I really don't know why they hate him.
Like a jackass.
We need a deep dive. I'm gonna reach out to some of my New Jersey beat writers and just find out why do you hate Timo Meyer so much?
Yeah, for real.
Ask him. Stefan Nason's playing his way up there, but
trade him somewhere else and let him go be good again.
Andre Palat on the top unit. That's
gross.
I hate that.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's a good one. Alan, why don't you take us to one of the biggest flops of the year?
I know I was about to say controversial pick here, but Elias Pettersson, fucking pheasant. ADP of 22.6, and that's pretty much where I took him. And I'm pissed. I'm glad I was able to trade him a couple weeks in the season. He's currently 155th in Kickoff.
Yeah.
Currently only pacing for 57 points, lowest of his fucking career. And that's even lower than the season where I think he only played like 22 games or something. Like even there, he's pacing for like 60. His shooting percentage is down, and he's also taking like half a shot less per game. And it's just his time on ice is coming down. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and now that the bully is gone, he'll fire it up. But right now, good guy, he's not playing anywhere near someone who's going to get paid 11 sheets.
Oh man! As soon as we bring in the salary,
less than 2 times a game. You're not wrong about that. Less than 2 shots a game.
Pettersson is such an interesting case this year, and you look at the year that like Quinn Hughes is having, like historic year, right?
25 points ahead of the next player on the team.
It's how is he doing it by himself? Like. So you want to say it's selfish.
He's watching Roman Yossi highlights.
Doesn't Quinn Hughes have more assists than Pettersson has points?
Probably.
Let's see. I think
they're collecting Pettersson's like Infinity Stones, trying to fucking fix this. They've got Marcus, they've got both the Lehigh, and now they've got 57-point pace, $11 million
Oh,
guy.
the answer is a resounding yes, by the way.
To what?
Quinn Hughes has way more assists
Oh,
than
yeah.
Oh,
Pedersen
wow.
has points.
I believe
Way
it.
more.
Yeah.
By 11.
Is that what happened? I don't
assists.
know. The rumors of, fucking each other's wives.
Usually it's JT Miller doing the other way around, but
I don't
whatever.
imagine.
Woo!
Listen,
Ain't that
I-
the truth, huh?
I know a handsome man when I see one. I look at Elias Pettersson. There's no double take. Not a single one. Maybe for the size of his head, but I don't know. I
Maybe
just
them
don't see.
ladies like that long neck. Get all up in there, you know what I mean?
God, fuck.
That
I
he
don't
got
know.
that. He got that giraffe neck. He probably got that giraffe tongue, son.
Oh God. And you know what? And JT Miller's not a bad looking dude.
You
I
know,
just
like when
wonder-
you get to feed them at the zoo.
Oh boy.
Like,
It's
just
purple
go and
tongue,
take
isn't
a
it?
bunch of
It's a strange color. Aren't giraffe tongues
acacia
like purple?
branches and hold them over the bench.
Do you think JT Miller
Let
and
him-
Elias
let-
Pettersson fight at
Let
the
him
formation?
graze on them.
You think they'd let that happen though?
Grazer.
I don't know. That'll be fun. There are a ton of guys that that fell in value. I mean, Zach Hyman's right behind, actually tied with Elias Pettersson in Yahoo ADP, and almost tied in rank. Hyman's done a lot more for his season than Pettersson has, and that's saying a lot. But I'm looking at guys like Soros, who's kind of like going right in tandem with Nashville. Jeremy Swayman had a rough start, but he's turning it around. A lot of guys fell fucking hard. Steven Stamkos, Chris Kreider. We're going to have a lot to talk about in the offseason, but as far as, up and down seasons, that's what we've got. Did we forget anybody else? I feel like we hit all the ones we wanted to, like the big talking points here. We can dive into some Four Nations real quick. We hit the hour mark. What do you think tomorrow? Sweden, Canada. Are we building a roster? Because I've got some snubs here. Logan Thompson being the head of it. I think.
Dude, I'm right
Connor
behind you with
Bedard-
another goalie. I think Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah. Okay. So we've seen Blackwood in New Jersey. We've seen him in San Jose. Now we've seen him in Colorado. Is this like inherent value or inherent talent that he's always had, or is it the team?
I think so. I think it was New Jersey, just because I think even in Jersey he had like a little short burst of what we see now, but they just mismanaged him. I thought I heard he had long COVID or something, or some kind of injury that really hampered his development.
Man, he's going to be another one that sees a huge uptick in ADP next year too.
Oh God, yeah,
in a big way. Logan Thompson, I think, deserves every conversation, every bit as much.
I love Mackenzie Blackwood's like regular profile picture. It's just him with a black eye.
Is it really? I got to check this out. Mackenzie Black Eye.
Like like if you look him up,
Like a Google search? I checked him out on Frozen Tools. Dauber here.
I would say Frozen Tools is the normal picture.
He's still in his teal. Yeah, I'll have to check this one out. All right, so I think my first line,
pull it up.
if I was building a line of snubs, it'd be Caulfield, Robertson, and Bedard, and then my goalie would be Logan Thompson, which I think we were talking about this before we went on air. Like, if Canada is going to go down, it's going to be as a result of who are their goalies? Montembeault, Jordan Binnington, and Logan Thompson's just going to watch. And I do believe there are many gods, and poetry is one of them. And irony is going to be working hand in hand with poetry, and goaltending is going to be their downfall. I think USA is going to figure out Binnington pretty goddamn quick. I don't know who I'd have on defense, but that's my forward line, and that's my goalie.
Now, do we say we can pick like even countries that we're not involved at all?
Yeah, Narnia.
That's
my Narnia team.
All right, so Narnia, my top line would be, give me fucking Draisaitl, Tavares, Kucherov.
Oh man. All right. So we're doing we can do any
Let's do
nation then.
anything.
Yeah. That's
If we're saying Narnia is our nation, let's fucking get full blown fantasy with it.
yeah. I wonder if like Russia doesn't have many centers, but they could probably put together a pretty good fucking team.
It'd be great wingers,
Yeah.
couple of good D like Sergachev, great goalies.
And then what, like Nemestikov is the 1C.
Probably gross. You really don't want that. You don't even want him as 2C in Winnipeg. But I mean, defense, we could grab guys like Sider, Chikrin,
Oh yeah.
fucking Jake Wallman.
This is my cat.
Well, you can't be having German guys like Draisaitl, you know? Can't be.
And
taking
that's what's
German
crazy.
guys.
It's
Dude,
just like, what's wrong with Germany?
Come on,
Why
Germany,
isn't
let's
Germany
go.
good enough?
Can you
Right.
build like a full roster out of Germans though? I know like
Probably not.
Stutzla be there. I don't think there's too
There's
many.
some
Germans.
good German players, though, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm wondering if like just individual countries wasn't the right way to go. Like you almost want like a Western Europe, Eastern Europe.
Oh God, could you imagine?
Oh, Jesus.
Just all those Russians mixing. That yeah.
There being a wall in the middle of the ice, you know?
But yeah, I mean Kucherov, if Russia was playing, he'd be the first one there, right?
Yeah.
Draisaitl, he should get paid. There should just be a miscellaneous team, right?
Yeah.
My cat's fucking around.
I was
with
gonna say, I don't think individual countries is the way to do this, but
all
what
right,
do I know?
so let's have Draisaitl as center, maybe J-Rob as the left wing, and Kucherov as the right.
Nice. You think there's enough grit for Cooch to skate around and do his thing though?
Draisaitl's a big dude. I know he doesn't get too physical, but I feel like he could fuck around. He could probably toss him. Has he ever fought? I don't know.
Dry? I don't know.
What about
I
you,
don't think
Zach? You
that's his
got any thoughts on the Four Nations coming up? You're going to be watching tomorrow. You got a day off?
I'm definitely going to be watching of what I can. I'm going to be, doing stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely going to watch. Why wouldn't I?
Hell
Seems
yeah.
cool. I think it's cool.
I think we did.
Who do you think? Who do you think's going to win? Sweden.
It's USA or Canada. I think that's.
I'm rooting for Sweden.
Yeah. Got to go USA. Just keep it a homer team. But the team that Canada put together is disgusting. It's so good. The
I'm
goalies.
tired of Canada going out there and winning all these gold medals and shit.
Fucking hockey things. I think USA's got a good roster. Eichel, Matthews. We've got some guys. We didn't do the throwbacks
I
like
like a
Patrick
lot of
Kane,
the Swedish players, so I'm going for Sweden.
I was talking to my
I think
mailman.
Sweden had decent defense.
My mailman's going for Sweden. He was wearing an Oilers hat, so I kicked up a conversation, and he's going Sweden.
I might change my pick then if Oilers people like him.
No, my mailman is a badass. I won't have any disrespect.
I mean, you got Jeek, you got my man Jeek, got Nylander.
It's a good roster.
Manshad.
There's not a bad roster there, but I think
Finland's defense.
Finland does look a little brutal. Like, isn't it Hakanpää like their best defenseman or something? Am I thinking of Sweden?
No, there's someone else. I think they had to get that guy that just got traded to the Rangers, like the Valimaki or whatever.
Oh,
Vaakainen, yeah, that's like how bad off Finland is. But that's
why
why I'd love for them to be the upset.
I wonder if we do get an upset. Tomorrow is going to be a fun game. Sweden and Canada going at it. Like Willie Nylander out there headlining. That's going to be a fun one.
Sweden's got a good defense, is all I'm saying. Great
It's
defense.
like fucking Hedman and like four different Rasmuses.
Ekholm. Yeah, everyone named Rasmus ever.
It's nothing but Rasmuses, Rasmai, and Matthias. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. If we had to rank, I think it's very close. 1-2, Canada, USA, Sweden, not far behind, and then Finland. That's probably
my pick is the Swedes. Sorry, America.
So we did a lot of catching up off the air, but I know a lot of people out there, they miss you, Zach. Why don't you tell them, just catch them up? What have you been up to? You're working fucking 4 jobs.
main thing in my life is we're getting some Wawas down here soon.
Oh, shit.
It's a
You
huge
take
fucking
that
deal.
Philly tuxedo down to the Wawa, get yourself a fucking
It is
CD.
it is
Squash
a
your
huge deal
beefs.
for me, man.
Goddamn
It's a
water
huge
ice.
deal for me that Wawas are gonna be here in Raleigh. I'm super excited. You have no idea. Like, I don't mind sheets and all, but you know, it's not
Oh
the
yeah,
same.
it's not the same. We're getting a lot of
It's
Royal
not the same.
Farms up here, which is strange. Like the fried chicken joints. Yeah,
I'm good
it's
on
nothing.
Royal Farms too.
They got nothing.
They're I know that Bucky's is cool, but that ain't the same thing either. Yeah, no. Biggest part of my life is that there's a Wawa coming down here. But yeah, other than that, I'm working like a million jobs and just doing a little bit of everything and constantly on the move. So it is what it is. But I'll stop there. I had a great time, man. I had a great time
Well,
talking some
definitely
hockey
loved having you. I got that
because I still watch.
newspaper for you.
It
Fucking
all
go
stays up there
Birds.
now.
I got
I'm
the
super excited about getting that newspaper.
yeah, I'm gonna send it over tomorrow. It's snowing right now. I think it's nothing but a dusting. But did I tell you the story of that Kansas City leg that I worked when they were the day before they were playing the Bills?
Mm-mm.
So here I am, like, it's fucking. If ever there's a diversity hire, it's me as a flight attendant, like this fucking straight white man. All right, like if there's diversity, it's me as a flight attendant. And I'm up there, just every single Chiefs fan. It's 3/4 of this plane. They're all wearing red. And I'm just saying, go Birds, go Birds, go Birds. Every
Hell
single one
yeah.
of them. And they're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Attaboy.
You thought we're playing the Bills? And I'm like, yeah, Bills Mafia versus you fucking Swifties. Like, go Bills Mafia. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks maybe. But I was chirping every single one of them.
In 2 weeks.
On the way out, they're all chirping me back. They're doing like that song that the Chiefs are all doing. But I was telling Vic during the Super Bowl, I hope at least one of those passengers is thinking about me right now. Just that fucking the flight attendant that was just chirping us relentlessly.
I hope we don't get that guy.
I was calling them all Swifties. That was my favorite part. Like they were so
I'm
mad.
sure they got pissed about it too.
Oh yeah. But
That's
yeah,
great.
man, that was a good Super Bowl. Go Birds. Now we got the Phils to come up. That'll be good. But Zach, always a pleasure having you on.
I'm
Alan,
actually
are we
glad
ready?
because I just got my voice back today. I had no voice yesterday. Like I'm still a little
Because of the
like,
Super Bowl, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
fuck.
still a little raspy. I
You
had
know I'm
no
not a
voice
football guy.
yesterday because
And
yeah,
I was
but
getting
you
up
were
for
still
that game,
watching
dude.
it. Like I even I was talking to you during the Super Bowl.
Hell yeah, Cooper DeJean, fuck it with the pick six. Like it was there. I had my my hallelujah moment. I might be a football fan going into next year. It was a good game.
It was a fun game. It was the
That's the problem.
game
I
I've
grew
ever
up a
watched.
Vikings fan, so I never knew what it felt like to win. And that I grew up a Mets fan
Hey,
as well
come
for
on,
baseball.
come on
So
over, man.
yeah, I
Come
think I'm
on over,
firmly a
man.
Birds fan.
You can come be a Birds fan.
I think I will be.
You're a Flyers fan. Like it's such an easy.
I might as well. It's a good
Look,
transition.
Flyers, Eagles. Look, it's such an easy thing to get into. Come on over.
The what do you call it? The atmosphere in Minnesota it's hard to beat. But the Metrodome was the loudest. It was so much fun. I watched Brett Favre up there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'll trade for you. You can be one of ours, and we'll give them Kevin Hart. He can get the hell out.
Oh yeah, he'd fit right.
I don't want him
Minnesota.
as an Eagles fan. He can go.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you, Zach, for hanging out. Man, this is weird. Like I'm kind of like introducing. Hey man, let everybody know what you've been working on, where they can find you. Like, what's your Twitter at? Like, if they want to get in contact with you, where they can find what you're working on. Catch me down at the Wawa. That's it.
Squash your
Wawa,
beef.
fucking 46th and Wharton. All right, but I don't know what we're doing the rest of the break. We'll probably come back at you with like week preview and normal stuff like that. But it was good to get this like random fun episode out there. Zach, thanks for hanging out, bud. And
Hey, yo.
Alan, let's call it.
Night.
There it is. Good night, everybody.
Love you.
Love you.